Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jose, but you can call me Juice, and I hope you guys are having a great motherfucking planty day. So today I'm just going to be showing you guys all of my self-watering plants. So I have around 15 different plants in my collection that are in a self-watering setup. So if you'd like to see how those plants are doing these days, please make sure to stick around. And if you didn't already know, I'd be uploading plant content here every Wednesday. So if you'd be looking for that, I got you. You should definitely think about checking out my other videos, especially if you love plants. And if you like my content enough, maybe you want to go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you have a good time here, don't forget to leave me a like or a comment on this video. But anyways, let's just get right into the plants. Alright, first up, I am going to start off with some new additions. So basically, these are just going to be some plants that I have added into my self-watering plant collection recently that didn't make an appearance in my last video, so let's get into it. Alright, first up, we're going to be talking about my big, beautiful thaumatophyllum spruceanum. And this plant is honestly doing so well these days. So originally, she used to just be in a regular pot with soil, but I did put her into the self-watering setup, I want to say at least 2 to 3 months ago. She actually just put out this new leaf right here, and it is still growing and expanding. And I honestly just love how the leaves look on this plant. If you haven't already noticed, they do make like these little leaflets or whatever they're called. So she has all these beautiful fan-shaped leaves. These plants can actually get pretty big, so I'm super excited to watch this plant grow. Here is some new root growth action for you guys. So basically how this whole setup works is I have a layer of rock on the bottom and then just my potting mix on top. And when I water this plant, it does leave a bit of a water reservoir on the bottom, and basically the plant can just drink up that water as it pleases. So it's able to be pretty self-sufficient until it runs out of water in the reservoir. And I was actually inspired to do this method by Jasmina Lowe here on YouTube, so shout out to her. But anyways, let's move on to the next plant. Alright, so this next plant, I don't even know if I've shown on my channel yet, but it is my Norfolk Island pine. And honestly, this plant was on my wish list for quite some time. So this plant is commonly sold around the winter time because some people do like to use these as Christmas trees. And I've always had the dream of owning one of these plants and growing it out to be a big tree that I can use every year, because I just think that would be so cool to have an actual live Christmas tree that you get to keep for years and years on end, instead of like buying a new one every year or whatever, or just having a plastic one. So yeah, I'm happy to report this plant has been doing really well in my collection so far. The lighter green ends of these branches is the new growth. She has put out a decent amount of growth since I've gotten her. I've maybe only had her for like a month and a half to 2 months, but I literally just picked her up at Lowe's on a whim. I believe she was actually on clearance, so I think I literally only got her for like $7 or something. And she just lives in this cute little green glass vase, and so far she seems to really be digging it. Like I said, I just really hope I can grow this plant out to be a really big tree. Also, I just really love how pine trees look in a houseplant collection. I went to the UC Davis Botanical Conservatory in California not too long ago, and they had like a whole section where they had just like different types of pine trees, and it was just so beautiful, and I just love the aesthetic of it so much. This plant kind of reminds me of that time, and I just love how it looks in my collection surrounded by the rest of my plants. So honestly, I might dive into more types of pine trees, but yeah, she's super cute. She just be hanging out. We'll see how big she is by this December. Maybe I'll be able to go ahead and decorate her or whatever, but let's go ahead and move on. Alright, and this next plant I think I also haven't really shown on my channel before, and it is my cute little asparagus fern. So this was another cheap, cute little plant that I picked up at Lowe's, and she was literally only like $5, so I was like, why not get her? Like, if she dies, she was literally only $5, and luckily so far she seems to be doing pretty well. well. So I do have her in this recycled Parmesan container, and she actually seems to be really digging the self-watering setup. I've heard these plants really don't like to dry out at all. So this method is definitely really good for plants that like consistently moist soil. So I definitely suggest trying out the self-watering method. And I just love the growth pattern on these plants as well. They're just so cute and delicate looking. Plus they're really, really soft. Another big reason I got this plant is because I really want to bulk up my fern collection, because I actually only have one other fern, but I think technically this plant isn't like a true fern, but you know what? The common name is an asparagus fern, so I'm gonna include her in my fern collection, okay? So mine is for sure just a little baby right now, but hopefully she'll keep doing well and be a big, beautiful plant someday. But yeah, like I said, she's just super cute. Oh, shoot. I just had a rock fall out of here and it chopped off some begonia leaves. R.I.P. All right, next up, we're talking about my philodendron silver stripe. So my version of this plant honestly doesn't have the strongest variegation, but I am happy she has kept up some of that variegation into these newer leaves that she has been putting out. I've honestly been growing this plant out for such a long time. I probably had her in my collection for close to 2 years at this point, and she's still pretty small, but ever since I put her into the self-watering setup, she has just exploded with growth, and she literally has so many roots growing all up through here. This plant is also in a Parmesan bin that I recycled. She also has this little S-hook because this plant actually does hang on my wall, just like my nepenthes over there. And I just love the look of that because it literally looks like she's just like floating in the air. But I think I'm probably going to need to repot this plant soon because the newer leaves she's been putting out lately are getting smaller and smaller. I do have some cuttings from the main original plant that I did also put into a small little self-watering setup, and she's doing pretty good as well. She has some roots growing up in there, and this one seems to have some pretty strong genetics so far because I'm pretty sure most of her leaves have variegation on it. So I'm kind of hoping I can just combine these together someday and just have a super full pot of this plant. So yeah, hopefully we just keep going up from here. All right, so this next plant is probably the saddest looking out of all of them, but it is my maranta kerchoveana. And honestly, I don't really know if this plant has really been doing the best these days, as I'm sure you can probably tell by some of these crispy leaves. This plant used to be doing really well, but for some reason, she just kind of has like slowed down in growth lately. She did put out a couple new leaves after I repotted her into her new pot right here, but I don't think she's really like thriving, you know. She does have some babies that I planted up here at the top that I'm hoping will eventually start getting bigger and just help fill out the top of the pot. But I mean, she does have plenty of roots growing up into here, so maybe she just needs a little bit more time to settle before she really starts taking off. I know for sure it's not her being thirsty because she's literally always moist in this setup. Hopefully I can get her to start thriving like she used to. But regardless, she is still pretty healthy besides the crisping she has going on. So I'm hoping by the next time I show you guys this plant, she'll be looking a little bit better. This is actually going to be the last of my new additions plants. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the plants that have been in my previous self-watering plant collection videos. All right, first up we have my goeppertia warscewiczii. So I feel like this plant has made one of the biggest transformations out of all of my self-watering plants. I'll definitely make sure to put in some past pictures for you guys because she really has come such a long way. So before I even put this plant into the self-watering setup, she really wasn't doing the best, and it was mostly my fault because I really wasn't able to keep up with the watering on this plant. And also she really wasn't in the best soil, so the odds were definitely stacked against her. But ever since I introduced her to the self-watering method, she literally has made like a complete 180 and is doing so good these days. Like, look at all of these leaves that she has. I'm just so proud of how much progress she has made. So besides the main plant in here, she has put out 3 different offshoots, and they're all putting out new leaves of their own. So this plant is really starting to fill itself out, and it's just starting to get bushier and bushier. And I'm just excited to watch how much more this plant will progress. Another big reason why I love this plant is because the leaves are literally so velvety soft, and they also have these beautiful purple maroon backs to them, which is just so pretty. Like, I'm literally a sucker for this like type of thing happening in plants. I don't know what it's called, but here are some of her newest leaves. They are literally like pristine and look so perfect. So I hope she keeps up the good work. I also got this plant in San Francisco, so she literally has come a long way. All right, next up we'll be talking about my alocasia lauterbachiana. So this plant was actually gifted to me by a good friend who actually also makes plant videos here on YouTube. If you don't already know, I be talking about Miss Plant Locks Books, aka Khadijah. So basically we did a little collab a couple months back where we sent each other plants. So she actually ordered this off of Etsy for me and had it delivered to my house. And since then, I think it has put out around 3 new leaves in my collection. And I think they are these ones right here. This was actually her last leaf, and it was her biggest one so far. So I really think she is starting to size up. We do have a new leaf on its way right now. So I'm super excited to see how big it's gonna be. I'm hoping it will be bigger than its last leaf. Of course, since this is an alocasia, she freaking loves the self-watering setup so freaking much. Like, just look at all of those roots. I honestly might need to repot her soon because they're just going crazy up in here. But yeah, I'm just so happy that this plant seems to be really happy in my collection. And of course, it just holds a little special place in my heart since it came from my friend. And this is actually only one of 3 alocasia in my collection. So I definitely want to start adding some more. But let's go ahead and move on. All right, guys, so here is my big, beautiful anthurium forgetii. And this plant has grown so much since I put her into the self-watering setup. And as you can tell by this big old thing swinging right up in the camera, she is working on producing some berries for me. So I'm super excited to be growing some babies from this plant, hopefully pretty soon in the future. But I did pollinate this plant with itself, and it was actually my first time ever doing something like this. So I'm really happy that I was successful. She even has another flower out right now, but I think I'm actually gonna hold off on pollinating it because I just don't want to overwork this plant. As you can tell on a lot of her leaves, she does have some crisping that is occurring, and it's definitely not the prettiest thing to look at. And I don't exactly know why she's doing it, but it could be a symptom of her putting a bunch of energy into this flower right here. So hopefully that's all that it is. But yeah, that's why I don't want to pollinate another flower and just have her like get worse, you know? But I think I definitely will collect some more pollen once she starts producing it. But yeah, this was her latest leaf, and it is her biggest leaf. Unfortunately, this leaf did get some damage on it. I'm not entirely sure from what. Regardless, I still think this plant is really beautiful despite the little imperfections that she be having, because you know what? That's nature, and not every single plant is gonna look 100% perfect. They be going through their own little struggles just like us. Here you can see some new root growth coming down on the side, and she is really loving all the extra space in this cheese ball bin that I recycled. So I'm hoping she'll give me another leaf soon. So next up we have another maranta kerchoveana, except this one is the variegated version. And as y'all can tell, this one is definitely doing a lot better than the regular one that I have. And I just love the variegation on these leaves so much. It is just so cute. The leaves that have these darker spots are the newer ones. And she's actually been putting out quite a few for me lately. So I think it's pretty safe to say she is happy. And I think the reason she's giving me all this new growth is because she's finally settled all up in her new pot. Literally, she has so many roots growing down the side right here. That's another reason why I really like this method of growing your plants, is because you can just see all the roots growing down the side. And it's just so cool to to look at, honestly. But yeah, it really makes me happy that this one is definitely in better condition than my regular one. She definitely did have some crispy leaves turn up here and there, but I did chop them off, and since then she hasn't really given me too much more. I definitely feel like this plant is underrated, so if you don't got one of these, I definitely suggest getting one. Even though they're variegated, they're really easy to take care of, if not easier than like the regular green version, as y'all can see from my own experience, but maybe that's just me. Next up, we have my beautiful nepenthes, aka a pitcher plant. So basically, this is a carnivorous plant, and it produces these little pitchers that it uses to catch flies and eat them, which, you know, fertilizes the plant and helps it grow. And I'm pretty sure the last time I showed you guys this plant, she didn't have all of these pitchers. So I'm super happy that she is starting to grow them for me again, because for a while, she kind of stopped, and I think it was because I wasn't giving her enough light. So not too long ago, I did move her under this grow light back here, and out of all of my grow lights in this room, this is the only one that's like full spectrum. So that area is definitely like prime real estate for my plants, and she's literally so happy hanging up here on the wall. But I literally only have this plant potted in sphagnum moss, and she actually really loves it. All of these black lines right here are actually the roots. They're not rotten, don't worry. Carnivorous plants usually just tend to have black roots. And yeah, they're literally all up and throughout here. So I'm probably gonna need to repot this plant soon. And when I do that, I'll probably put it in a more similar setup as the rest of my self-watering plants, because this one doesn't have any rocks on the bottom. So I don't know if that technically disqualifies her from this video, but I did include her in my last one because she kind of is a self-watering plant in the sense where I basically do the same exact thing where I put, you know, a little water reservoir on the bottom that she drinks from. She even has some new baby pups growing out from the base of the plant. So that's super exciting to see, because I think she's gonna have at least like 4 or 5 different plants in total just in this one pot. So she's definitely gonna have lots of pictures and lots of leaves, but yeah, she's super cute. Next up, we'll be talking about my Aralia, balfouriana, variegata, and this is another plant that just absolutely loves the self-watering setup. She has tons of roots growing up in here. Honestly, I don't really know if this plant has changed that much since the last time you guys saw her, but she is consistently still doing well and putting out some new growth for me. Her leaves do look like they have sized down just a little bit in size, but I did recently move her underneath the grow light I have back here, so I'm hoping she will start popping off a little more and will continue to get even more mature. I think I do want to try to get into some more species of this plant, but I think they do tend to be more so like outside plants than indoor plants, so I don't really know how many options I have. Anyways, let's move on. Here we have my syngonium pink allusion, and I feel like this plant also really hasn't changed that much since the last time you guys saw her, but she definitely has been putting out some new leaves for me lately, or you know, has been trying to, because something I've kind of been running into with this plant is the new leaves aren't like fully unfurling by themselves, so I'll have to like manually unfurl them, and then they'll finally like harden off into a regular leaf. She even has a new leaf coming out right now, so we'll see how this one goes. Maybe it will be able to unfurl itself, but I know she's definitely getting enough water and enjoying the self-watering setup, because she literally has so many roots growing up in here. Like, oh my god, it literally looks like pasta noodles or something. So maybe I just need to repot her and she'll stop having that issue. For some reason, syngonium just really don't grow the best in my environment, or at least not for me. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I've literally had this plant for like 2 years and it looks like I just got it, you know? So I don't really know if this self-watering setup benefits this plant that much, because I don't really see that big of a difference from when it was growing in soil. All right, next up we will be talking about my red vein maranta. Unfortunately, I have been battling mealybugs on this plant for like the past 2 months now, I want to say, and they just don't want to go away. So I am trying to be careful and not have her touch any of my other plants right now, because I definitely don't want them to spread. But yeah, I don't know why they're not dying. I've used systemic insecticide and Captain Jack's, and they just keep coming back. So I don't really know what to do at this point. I have heard of a method where you like dunk this in a bath of like alcohol and water and dish soap or something. So I might try that out just to like really eradicate the mealybugs. And when I do that, I will repot her as well because they could just be coming out from the soil or something. I don't really know. I think I really just need to give this plant a good shower and a good scrub down. And maybe I'll try out some different pesticides just to see what really gets rid of them. But yeah, I really hope I can be successful because I don't want to lose this plant again. Because if you didn't already know, I did used to have this plant around when I first got into plants, but I did end up getting rid of it because I really wasn't taking the best care of it. So I got another one not too long ago because I just really wanted to try this plant out again, especially now that I feel like I can really take care of it pretty well. And of course, I had to get freaking mealybugs. If they just keep coming back, I might have to throw this plant away, which hurts my heart to say, but I would rather just get another one than have the risk of mealybugs spreading to the rest of my collection. But despite her having mealybugs, she still has been putting out some new growth for me. So honestly, I don't think the plant itself is too unhappy, but it definitely would be doing a lot better if it didn't have all of these little unwelcome guests all over it. So wish me luck, guys. If you have any tips of getting rid of mealybugs, let me know down below. Alright, so next up I have my philodendron white wizard, and I'm pretty sure the last time I showed you guys this plant, this leaf right here was on its way out. Here is what it's looking like. The variegation on it is super cute. Unfortunately, it is a smaller leaf than the last one she put out, so I don't really know what's going on there. I kind of feel like this plant is in the same boat as my syngonium pink allusion, where I don't really know if the self-watering setup is really benefiting it that much because I really haven't noticed a difference in the growth rate since I switched it over. So I don't know if these plants are just naturally pretty slow growing or if maybe I just need to give her some more light or something. She used to have some prettier leaves, but unfortunately she has lost them. Some of them were my fault because she did have my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma fall on her once and damage some of her leaves, but I'm happy she survived that. Hopefully someday soon she'll really just start popping off for me. Alright, next up we have my alocasia black velvet, and unfortunately this plant doesn't look as good as it did the last time I showed you. So she is down to 2 leaves right now, and she does have a little damage on this one. I don't really know what happened with this plant. She used to be doing really well and was like thriving for me, and then after a while she kind of just like slowed down. And I wasn't sure if it was because she was root bound or just needed like a bit of a soil refresh. So I did repot her into this bigger container. I want to say maybe 2 months ago or so. And she really hasn't done that much, but I am happy to say she is finally starting to put out a new leaf. So hopefully this plant will go back into its golden era and just start doing really well for me again, because it's so sad seeing her with just 2 leaves. She did recently put out this new root right here. So I'm hoping she has just been working on like rooting up into this pot, and maybe now she'll start putting out a bunch of new leaves for me. I don't really know, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the last plant of this video. So last but not least, I will be showing you guys my stromanthe triostar, and I'm happy to say this plant is doing really well these days. So originally I put this plant into the self-watering setup because, kind of similar to my goeppertia, I wasn't really able to keep up with the watering on this plant, so she really wasn't looking her best. And when I first got this plant, she did used to be a pretty decent size. So I have just been working on growing her back out, and so far she seems to really be loving the self-watering setup. Since putting her in here, she did put out a new shoot, and it has just been putting out new leaves for me constantly. And they're just so beautiful. Like, I just love the variegation on this plant and just how pink they could get. I do kind of wish she would put up another shoot, or you know, start growing new leaves from the original shoot that she had right here. But I'm just really happy she's giving me new leaves in general, and hopefully the next time I show it, it will be much bigger. But here's some root action for you guys. She's doing really well. I think this is one of the only ones where I have perlite on the bottom. So that's kind of fun. But I think that's gonna go ahead and end this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all of these plants and hanging out with me today. If you did, you can go ahead and leave me a like, and you can leave me a comment letting me know if you have any plants in a self-watering setup, or about which one of my self-watering plants is your favorite. I'm so happy I decided to try out this method because for the most part, it has really benefited a lot of my plants. So I want to give another quick little shout out to Jasmine Lowe, because without her, I wouldn't even know about this. But if you didn't already know, I'd be uploading plant content here every Wednesday, so if you'd be looking for that, I got you. You should definitely think about checking out my other videos, and if you already have, why not click the subscribe button? You're already here. And if you made it this far in this video, I just want to give you an extra thank you for all the support on this channel, and I really hope you guys have been enjoying the content I've been putting out lately, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see you guys here next week. Bye!